What's the plan here for the
Yeah,
NFL
well, I
on all
mean,
this?
I think the Brazil thing's interesting. They had considered three cities really. It was Rio, Sao Paulo, and then Madrid in Spain. And they certainly want to continue to expand this. And I think this is over the next 5 to 10 years going to grow to where they're really going to use the 17th game as an international game, where now every other year a team's got 9 home games, and teams now are going to be subject every 4 years to giving up one of those home games to go overseas. And so, clearly it's like part of the plan when they went to 17 games was to use the extra games to grow the game internationally. And I think it's like part of, they got to a point, Rich, and this, like 15 years ago or so, where it was like, we can't really grow up domestically anymore, so we want to grow out. And that's adding inventory as Thursday Night Football at 17 games. It's the expanded playoffs. It's going back to LA, and it's growing internationally. And so this is a big part of it. And it's a new continent too, which is significant for them. And then, as you mentioned off the top there, like the rules changes are coming up here, so I'd expect in the next couple hours, we'll at least have, some update on what they're going to do with the hip drop tackle, with the push play. And then another thing, the split flow blocking is something else that's come up that I think fewer fans have a handle on, but another thing that they're addressing here.
Well, they usually don't make rule changes at this ownership meeting. It's usually, studied, and then the competition committee has at it during the month of February or late January when they start meeting. And then they present something for ownership to vote on in the big membership meeting that always happens at the end of March. What are they? What are you hearing about the brotherly shove play and what's being discussed there on that front?
Yeah, it's something they've looked at like a lot. Now I'll give you my own opinion. Like a year ago, I thought it was like a cheat code, right? Like, and I was like, and if you care about health and safety and you have the quarterback getting shoved into the line, does that really square with some of the other actions? But I don't know about you, Rich, but as I've seen team after team after team try it and fail, and this really seems to be just one team that's really, really good at it, that has a Hall of Fame center in Jason Kelce, a strong as an ox quarterback in Jalen Hurts, two guards who used to be centers, at least when they're healthy, in Dickerson and Juergens. I've sort of come around to the fact, like, I don't think you should change the rules because one team's really good at something. And I've gotten that sentiment here too, just talking to more people. It's, the more that this just becomes kind of an ego-specific thing, the more support there is for not changing the rule in the push play. And we'll see what happens. But part of it, and I think this applies to the hip drop tackle thing too, is, well, how do you write the rule? And that can be a little tricky too. So, I think this would be the beginning of the conversation to put it on a timeline to talk more about it. Of course, when you get to the combine, the competition committee meets there, and then ultimately at the annual meeting in March.
And then the other news is Los Angeles getting Super Bowl 61. So I can't believe we're in the 60s now.
I know.
60 was already awarded to the Bay Area again in Santa Clara, but 61 goes to the so there's a lot of West Coast Super Bowls the last couple of years.
That's right. Yeah, that's like a lot of, like, if you have like on your docket like morning radio on the East Coast, it's going to be kind of tough for a few years.
That's why I got morning radio on the West Coast. Hello, we love it. We kind of dig it. It's a home Super Bowl for us. So just circling back one more time to the international series. What do you think is the end goal here? Like a full-on international series package where there's double-digit number of games in various locations around the world that a new television partner can bid on for an early window. So there's going to be an official partner of the NFL that has control of that first of 4 windows of football more often than not. Is that the goal?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, is that you would have a new television package that would be a morning package. Obviously that wouldn't apply to Brazil, of course, because the time difference isn't there. But like with the European games, certainly, they had talked about going to China. This was, I think, before the Beijing Olympics. Like, I think it was the Patriots and Seahawks were going to go over there. So I think at some point, Australia, China, like, does that come into the equation? And, one thing that they talked a lot about, and I can remember in '07 when they launched the international series. It was a guy named Mark Waller, who was the league at the time and ran international for a while.
He's a Brit. He was a Brit. Yep.
Yeah, and one of his goals, like there was this 15-year goal that they had to put a team full time in London, and that was in 2007. And obviously, we're past that time frame now. And they really feel like the market, like the London market, is ready for a team, but the logistics aren't there. And it was interesting because, like, at one point a few years ago, I talked to them about this, and they had actually mentioned how they'd studied air travel and like our advances coming in air travel that are going to make this more feasible. And I think they feel like they could make it work like static, right? Like just as far as like making like it so teams can go over there and play over there and then come back. Like there's a way to do it. The problem would be with how do you, if you have your right guard get injured, how do you work out 4 guards on a Tuesday, right? Like, how do you do that? Like, and then
Sure.
like, I mean, little things like that people don't think of, but would have to be a factor, like, so do you have like a US base in Atlanta, say, and you fly those guards into Atlanta and they fly in, and then the guy who gets signed, then he's on a plane to London. It's complicated, And then how about this, right? Like, so say Seattle plays the London team in the wild card round of the playoffs. And then the winner of that game plays a team on a bye in the next round. Is that fair? That somebody might be traveling 10 hours or 11 hours each way and then have to go and play a team that's rested the next week. So I think like as simplistic as it sounds, like advances in air travel could dictate whether or not there's a team over there, but they've certainly had designs on putting teams outside of the US. And I don't think that the desire to do that is gone. I think it's just on hold because of the logistical problems that having a team over, somewhere in Europe would present.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.